Howdy to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again. I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Joining me today, to my immediate left, on this side of the camera, where he's not always, my producing partner and friend, Chris Black. And to Chris Black's immediate left and my far left, my most frequent, recurring guest. Good friend, longtime friend, and guest on the channel, Talmadge Roger Varnado the Third.
Good to be back.
Maybe a distant cousin of Kenneth Walker the Third. Y'all do have the same last name, but that's a story for perhaps another day.
Or perhaps not.
Or perhaps 87 or 4 times we could think about it and not do it.
Might help you with that move.
So you may have seen an episode where Jacob Weedman and I drafted our starting 5 NBA players from players of every era, basically an all-time team, and also with a coach. And even if you haven't seen that episode, we did do it, and you could still go back and watch it. Talmadge and Chris are going to now draft their all-time teams from the coaches and players that are available, which means excluding Jacob and mine lineup. So just to do a quick recap, so you have an idea of who's available. Jacob Weedman's lineup, he has Greg Popovich as his head coach, Shaquille O'Neal at center,
So if you need a list, here's a list.
Giannis Antetokounmpo at power forward, Kevin Durant, small forward, Michael Jordan, shooting guard, and Irvin Magic Johnson as his point guard. For my lineup, I have Red Auerbach as my coach, Will Chamberlain at center, Charles Barkley, power forward, LeBron James at small forward, Kobe Bryant at shooting guard, and Oscar Robertson as my point guard. So, Jacob and I flipped a battery. We're going to do something a little bit different to see who goes first here. So, Talmadge and Chris, I've got a number between 714. I'm kidding. We'll go a number between 10 and 1. Whichever you guys each guess a number, whoever's the closest picks first.
Well, I tell you what. Since today is Talmadge's birthday,
You should have told me.
25 years old today, plus a few years.
Right.
Plus a few years.
Carry the one.
We're going to let you go first. So, your birthday, you throw a number out.
9.
All right. Well, I was going to go 7.
Well, Chris, you're picking first. The number was 4.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
Couldn't do 5 for our rule, you know.
I know your rule and my rule.
So, do we want to start with coaches first or coach last?
However y'all want to do it. I think Jacob and I did coach first. But
All right.
Y'all can do whatever.
You know what? I want to do coach last.
Okay.
Because I want to throw my list out there. We'll get the list going and then say, okay,
Here's who's manning the ship.
here's the man behind the wheel of the ship.
Okay.
That's going to
Coach
steer
all.
this over. So we're going to, all right, starting off with center. I'm going to go with Jabbar Kareem.
Not a bad choice.
The big skyhook.
Cannot argue with that.
If you want a guy that can score, well, he's not a bad choice.
Not a bad choice.
To win games, you got to get some
And
points.
you got to have a rim protector, and he is going to be a rim protector.
Yeah,
And he made some all-defensive teams, especially early in his career.
Yeah, he didn't make those teams for no reason.
Right.
Right.
So
people overlook his defense, but he was on plenty of all defensive teams, so he was not a bad defender.
Exactly. So
Talmadge, do we even have to ask who your center is going to
If
be?
you've watched the channel before, no, you don't. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon.
Only your all-time favorite player and one of the greatest centers of all time.
Well, Vernon
so-
Maxwell's my favorite player, but yes.
Oh, man.
I'm kidding. It's Hakeem.
and you know what? I knew he was taking Hakeem, so I knew I was not going to take.
The only way he wasn't taking Hakeem is if you picked first and took Hakeem
And,
instead.
and I did pick first, and I wasn't going to be a jerk. So I knew for our friendship, I was leaving Hakeem out of this.
Hey, there
but
you go.
I still think I got him, but he's going to do that little spin thing he does, and it might just leave a Jabbar in
Booker
the
T.
dust.
Spinaroonie? Oh, you mean the Dream Shake.
The dream shake. The dream shake, yes.
He would get Kareem
Yeah.
with some of those.
He
As
could
good
get-
as Kareem, we talked about Kareem's defense.
Yeah.
He's not stopping
I
Olajuwon.
think that's going to be tough for him.
Both of them will score plenty on the
Yeah,
other one.
The second.
Is the second K? Okay, it's just one. I don't know. 1, 2. I don't
Let's
know.
make sure we give the man his proper.
I don't want to misspell Hakeem.
Well, if he had misspelled
it had been
anybody
the
else's
dream,
name, I wouldn't have
I
said
you
it.
know it wouldn't have mattered, but we're talking. Let's respect Talmadge's favorite player here.
Let's give him the respect. Evans and Betsy had, it's notepad. It
Heavens
doesn't
to
have any.
Murgatroyd.
It's,
All right, here we
okay,
go with your
anyways.
power forward, Chris
Power
Black.
forward. All right. Who did I talk about? Hang on a second. I had a whole list of them. Oh, I'm going to go with Tim Duncan.
Also not a bad choice.
I stole his, but
I predicted who Talmadge's lineup would be, and Tim Duncan is who I had as your power forward. But that was
And
I didn't
that's
know who
who
was
did
gonna
I.
pick for it. Yeah.
so did he. We talked about it earlier. So do I need to write it down?
You know who it is.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Kevin Garnett.
Mr. Garnett.
I was gonna say at this point, with Duncan not being available, I don't think we have to question. As Talmadge likes to say, there's just no question.
Well, there was one. I was considering Dirk. I was considering it, but I went with the more all-around player, in my opinion.
Okay, and Karl Malone, none of us picked him.
Yep.
There's a reason.
I had him on my list, but it is funny enough.
And
that-
it wasn't a basketball reason why I didn't, so we'll save that for another podcast.
Okay, I mean Barkley was my easy choice, but Malone, I mean he's one of the next ones that
Yeah,
just
he-
crossed
he
my
did
mind.
very
Yeah.
And Duncan and Garnett, all these guys.
And it's
so.
funny when we were talking about it, and he said Tim Duncan, and in my mind, Garnett was the next guy. So if Duncan went there, I was going to go Garnett.
y'all could've
and so
just
we
swapped,
could have
yeah.
swapped. So it's kind of scary how much we think alike, which is frightening enough. Okay, so
As long as y'all aren't thinking too much like I am, y'all shouldn't be too worried.
so small forward.
Small forward.
Small forward.
I'm not even gonna ask. You can say it if you want to, but
All
I'm
right,
gonna go ahead and start typing
he's
it
gonna-
down.
he's gonna
I'm
fool
I'm
you.
about to shock you.
Why would you do that?
Well, because I want to have a better team. I need a defensive presence here. I need a defensive
Okay.
presence. You would think with Jabbar and Duncan, I've got the interior defense, which is great, but I need perimeter defense. So I'm going to go with Scottie Pippen.
I genuinely am more surprised than I usually am about most things.
And he's going to surprise you.
No, he won't.
Okay.
No, I won't. No, they won't. We won't. It's Larry Bird.
Larry Bird, yeah.
That's no
See,
surprise
that's-
now that you didn't pick
Well,
him.
right. It
Yeah.
was, you expected me to take Bird, but
Well, we've only had 82 or 7 hours worth of talk about you saying how great he is, so why would you not? Wow.
But in this situation, looking at the team, I needed, and you,
and that's
I've
not
already
a bad
mentioned.
logic. I just didn't think you'd be able to pass up Larry Bird
Trust me.
regardless of the logic.
In my mind, I had to take I had to shut the door, go in the closet with and really fight with myself in the sense that was I taking Bird, or was I going to take Scottie Pippen?
Wow.
And only because of the perimeter defense did I take Pippen.
But the
Yeah.
odd part about fighting with yourself is you both win the fight and lose the
Yeah,
fight.
you
Exactly.
do, you
And-
came out on both
Yeah.
sides. I predicted, I wasn't even thinking about Larry Bird. I figured Talmadge was taking Elgin Baylor because at this point, with LeBron and Durant and Bird being gone, I was like, why wouldn't he take Elgin Baylor?
I
But-
was tempted, but when he didn't take Bird.
Well, yeah, now I can see.
Well,
although
it's-
I would have still taken Elgin over Larry. We already
Well, it's
know
just like
that.
you before when he took Durant, you're like, well, I'll take LeBron.
Now that LeBron's available, I'm like, why wouldn't
It's,
I
it's
take him?
kind of
I
a
mean, yeah.
no-brainer, right?
At
So-
this point, you made my decision
Yeah.
for me by yeah.
I mean, I would still, look, I if I could have Bird and Pippen on the same team, I would do that.
Well, yeah.
I would do that. But
I'll be honest, no
we're-
disrespect to Scotty, but I didn't think he was going to wind up in one of our lineups. There's only 4 of us. We're picking all small forwards of all time.
No,
Wasn't expecting him.
this is not necessarily a small forward of all time. You got to look for a
No,
defense.
no, but when we
Oh,
could
when
all
we
pick
did that
anybody,
list. Yeah.
I was like, I just
Yeah.
wasn't expecting him to be on one
Well,
of our lists.
look, I'll be honest. I've been running these scenarios through ChatGPT for the last 3 weeks, and when I put him
Yes,
in
you
there,
have.
He cheated.
I
He
cheated.
He cheated America.
I did. I've been running scenarios for the
So
last
this
3
is
weeks.
Chris / ChatGPT's
Yeah, this is
lineup.
yeah, exactly.
So who did they suggest that you take at shooting guard?
Well, it's not that it's suggested. It's just I threw scenarios and I took the one I
okay.
felt
Player
was the
combination.
player combination
Okay.
things like that. So at shooting guard, I felt like Luka was the way to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Again, no disrespect to the young man.
You
He's
can't argue it.
phenomenal,
I
but
mean-
I wasn't expecting that.
I liked that his fact that just his playability, his way to make his way to the basket. He's a difficult cover.
Well, and he's he's extremely versatile.
He could shoot from the
He's
perimeter.
a
He
triple
can-
double machine. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter. He's quicker than you think he could possibly be. I mean, yeah, he's great.
I like him in the pick and roll.
Wasn't quite expecting him. Though.
I like the
Okay.
pick and roll. So
Yeah.
and he plays that very well. The fact that he can pass the ball from almost any angle. I mean, it's almost like watching a smaller Magic to
And
some
still,
extent.
for being as young as he is,
And he's
too,
young.
He's
and he's
just,
young.
Yeah,
And I'm
he's
sure
phenomenal.
there's somebody out there watching us right now that's going, jaw has hit the floor, and they're just shocked. But great. This is why it's my team. So don't worry about
And
it.
it's all the available players, and he's available.
And
you
he's
can't
available.
argue his production.
I mean, yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not a bad choice by any means.
So this was you had a whole, you were going through a plethora of different players and plugging them in your mind. I could see that.
Yeah, this is the toughest one for me because you could go Wade. You could go Jared West. 'Cause I know some consider him a point guard, but some consider him a shooting guard. I consider him a
he
shooting
played
guard.
enough of both.
So you could go Jared West. He is the logo, by the way. I'm gonna go with Clyde Drexler.
Oh,
I'm
Interesting.
gonna go with Clyde.
Again, not a
Clyde
bad
the
choice,
Glide.
but I actually predicted you were going Dwayne Wade. That was my guess on who you would
I
pick.
went with Clyde just because he was bigger, more physical, more versatile. Now Dwayne Wade was faster.
Yeah,
Had a
Clyde
bit-
could see the whole floor even when his head was down.
He had eyes.
He had
My
eyes.
guy
He
could
just
pitch.
had everywhere.
Somehow, yeah,
You could play him at 3.
yeah.
And more physical than people
He
thought.
could
The thing
defend the
that's-
bigger guards better, and yeah.
He's like a bird defender in that he wasn't a great individual defender. Even with that athleticism, you would think he was. But he played the passing lanes well, and he was
Yeah.
a great team defender.
Yeah.
And just that size and athleticism, I went with Glide, but you could easily talk me out of it. So let's go on to the next position before you do.
Before we spend 82 or 7 more minutes on
Exactly.
it.
So I'm gonna go at point guard. I'm going to Isaiah Thomas.
Not Isaiah Ryder,
No, not
who was a
Isaiah.
shooting guard.
Yeah, not him.
And by Isaiah Thomas, you mean the 5'9" guy that's bounced around to a few teams? Oh no, the one with the Pistons.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
the one was the
okay.
fiery captain of the Pistons. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's hope
You know.
I'm glad you made that clarification. We'll run these simulations. I was going
Yeah,
to put the other one in there
I mean, yeah.
to guarantee me a win.
Yeah, of course you were. I would not put it past you, especially after I took Tim Duncan from you. You know,
You did steal him.
I did steal him, but I did give you Bird.
And it is my birthday.
Bird.
Let me pick
Bird.
And you still, yeah, you know. But yeah, no, Isaiah, one of the best of all time. He's can break a defense down. He was a great scorer, great passer. Certainly a good choice.
And honestly, and this is go back to something that you just said, talking about Clyde and even Bird being team defensively team defense guys. And you can't just go, well, I just want the best player at every position. You know, because you got to put a team together.
How are they going to?
How are they going to be
gel?
How are they going to gel? How are they going to put it together? And that's why I went with Isaiah. Is I wanted a floor general who's passionate, who's fiery, and boy, that is Isaiah. That was Isaiah. That was the way he was.
Yeah.
So,
And I still think Isaiah is one of our underrated point guards. Even though he's on everybody's top 5 list, I still don't think people really realize how good he was, especially for his size, the way he impacted a game. I mean, when you look at those Pistons teams, they were loaded. They had the Rodmans when I thought Rodman was good. I know everybody looked at Rodman with Chicago, but I'm not a big Chicago Rodman fan. But in Detroit, ran like a gazelle, great defender. You got Mark Aguirre on that team later. You had Dumars, who was a great player. But Isaiah, he was the engine. I mean, he was the reason that they were in the finals. He was the reason they were.
I was about to
every
say,
year.
in my opinion, you could keep all those guys that you just named, plus the Lambeers and Mahor and John Williams, John Sally. If you take just Isaiah out, they're a playoff team and not much more.
See, I'd agree with you. I agree with you.
They're not going.
And I'm not taking away from the other players. It's
No,
just
no. Those other
Isaiah
guys
was
were
that good. And I didn't even realize Isaiah was, as I watched him.
Yeah.
But looking back at him, like, I didn't give this guy the great, for a lot of the reasons you gave. to fire a guy. And keep in mind, too, when he first came to the league, Detroit was an offensive team.
Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't know a thing about defense. With Kelly
Their
Tripucka,
Tripucka
John
and
all
Long.
these guys.
The whole complexity of their team changed over.
And with that transformation that changed, he was still great. So
Yeah. If you take him, if you remove only him, they're probably still making the playoffs, but they're going to be like the Milwaukee Bucks of that area with Larry Krystkowiak and Alvin Robertson, a solid team that's not a huge threat.
They're going to get knocked out in the first round.
But with Isaiah, they win back-to-back titles. So yeah, he really to me is that good.
Yep. So that's why I went with him.
Not a bad.
Y'all just made my point.
Speaking of point
Thank you. I
guards.
didn't have to say much more than that. All right, point guard.
This is tougher for me than people think because I want an offensive guy. But then I looked at my team. Well, I've got, if nothing else, the back end covered with Akeem and Garnett. That's two of the best defenders of all time.
Yes.
So that's going to free me up to
Versatile
go with
defenders as well.
Yeah, and that's going to free me up to go with the best offensive point guard of all time, Steph Curry. Surprised me that I'm doing it because, again, I put more stock into defense than some, and he's not really a pure point. But when I looked at who was left, you can't deny his greatness. He's going to finish probably a top 10 player of all time. I say probably because, like we talked before, we already have our pre-made list.
Yeah.
It's hard to add a new person to it. But you can't argue that.
Who do you knock out of the top 10? But
on?
he's in the conversation, or he will be.
So
he is who I predicted that you would take too, because I was like, at this point, when we're boiling down, in my mind, I was like, you're either taking him or John Stockton, but I figured you would take Curry.
I mean, I thought about Stockton. I thought about Chris Paul. I thought about Peyton. I thought about Kidd because I wanted the defense.
Yeah, you could, and none of those guys would be a
I did not think about Westbrook. That's another story for another day.
That one never came out.
If you haven't seen our top 10 point guards list, go back and watch it and you'll understand the reference there. All right, so now all we have left are the coaches.
All right,
Chris is still using a program to figure out his coach, it looks like.
Yeah, no. I'm actually preparing the information to go into ChatGPT to see what would happen between our two teams. I mean, we talked about how do we would love to see the series between these two teams, right? So
if it were possible, I'd love to actually watch these games, yeah.
The closest I can get to it at the moment is to run it through AI and run it through and let AI see what it's saying. But anyways, my coach, both of us talked about it, and it's funny. He made the comment, "I'm going off the beaten path," and I was like, I'm so glad he said that because that's where I was too. I was in the weeds, much like he is, not like you and you went with Auerbach and Jacob went with Popovich. So some of the best coaches around, but. Not that my coach is a slouch in his. I think he has over 1,000 wins. Oh yeah. So I'm going to go with Mr.
The list for
I'm going to go with Mr. Don Nelson. And the reason I went with Donnie or Don, not Donnie. Don.
I was going to say
there's a difference. There's a huge difference.
Let's clarify that.
The reason I went with Don Nelson is because I felt like Don Nelly could really take this team and scheme it. He's really good at taking guys. Yes. That just in taking a game plan and scheming it to what they can do.
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
that's true.
Guys, we're running the triangle offense, and this is how you're going to play it. That's what.
So
that's what Jackson would have done. He would have tried to put that together. So Phil, that's why you're not on the list. So at least not my list. And I am sure that he's watching this right now. And if you are, drop a comment. I want to hear from you. Still one of my favorite coaches.
After you subscribe, Phil, leave us a comment.
But anyways, I felt like Don Nelson will be able to scheme play specific for these 5 guys. Yeah.
And I will say,
and get them to play as a cohesive unit.
If you look at Don Nelson's coaching career, he was very good at melding his personnel together and saying, okay, here's the team I have. What works best for these guys? Not what do I want to impart necessarily. So, I can see that.
And really one of the first coaches, I don't know if he knew he was doing this at the time, but if you think about it, he might have been one of the first coaches that brought in that phrase positionless basketball. He just kind of...
I don't think he was thinking that way, but
he put the best 5 on the floor, and what you were good at, you did.
I'll put you for...
I don't care what position you play, just go do what you do.
That's true. And I don't think he thought of it that way necessarily. Maybe he did, but
here's the funny thing.
That's just what he did.
Here's the funny thing. The AI said exactly that.
Oh, really?
Positionless
really?
basketball. Positionless basketball.
So
So-
AI might be worth something. They agree
It
with
might be
knowledge.
worth something. Now the question whether it agrees that I've got a better team is a whole different problem.
We'll see.
So,
So
all right.
Talmadge, who's your coach?
Well, you already mentioned Phil Jackson. I could have gone there. That's the easy pick. I could have gone with my favorite coach. You know who that is, Rudy Tomjanovich, because I'm a Rocket fan, and you can never underestimate the heart of a champion. You could have gone with Lenny Wilkins, who had the record forever.
For a long time.
I'm going to go with a guy who did it on the pro level, the college level. No matter what team you gave him, he turned him around. Mr. Larry Brown. And that's kind of the reason why. He could coach older teams, younger teams. He gave you room to be yourself. Don't ask Allen Iverson. But he also was a disciplinarian. He could basically coach in any era because he was a successful coach in the late 70s all the way up into
His
the
success
early
translated
2000s.
through many decades.
Yeah, so
no, you're right. That's
I'm going to go with him.
okay. Honestly, with all these coaches, they're all great. They all have their kind of their own thing, but none of us picked a coach where I'm like, come on. Like, why would you want him? Like, they're all...
You didn't pick Steven Silas?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe on the next round if we have another round.
All right, so let's see what ChatGPT has to say between our two teams. And the cool thing is it even goes into the coaching. And so I think that's
styles
the coaching styles, or what is the possible strength. Strength of my team: outstanding basketball IQ, size, and versatility in both ends. All right, see, I like that. And
Yeah, it's good.
Kareem's skyhook, Duncan's mid-range touch and defense, Pippen's provides elite perimeter defense. See, that's what I was going for. Just like Jacob wanted spacing, I need elite perimeter defense. Because somebody has got, I don't know, Michael Jordan and Durant, so I got to have somebody cover those guys.
Might want to have a decent defender on the floor.
I might need to have somebody play them. With Luka's playmaking, scoring, and dynamic layer to Nelson's free-flowing offense, Isaiah brings quickness, grit, and clutch play, which is why I kind of really liked Isaiah. Weaknesses, outside shooting. So, there's always that. Luka and Pippen are capable, but
and so was Isaiah.
Quite
honestly.
as capable as Steph Curry and Bird.
Well, no.
Your strengths are spacing, athleticism, versatility, along with elite shot blocking, rim protection. Your focus on defense would be a major advantage to with Olajuwon and Garnett patrolling the paint. You leverage Bird's, Curry's, and Drexler's ability to stretch the floor. So let's go look at...
What are my weaknesses?
You don't have a traditional point guard.
True enough, and I said that.
Yeah, which would be problematic against elite defenders on Team 1, which is me. But Curry's defensive limitations could also be concerned, as Team 1 could look to exploit him on isolations and switches. Although Brown would likely offset this with structured defensive schemes, Team 1's size advantage in the backcourt could be tough to overcome.
Good analysis. I agree with both.
I mean, I agree, except the only slight thing I would say, but think about this, is talking about all the size advantage. Isaiah was 6'1". It's not like he towered. It's not like you got a big, strong guard hovering over Curry. Curry's a little taller. They're about the same size.
So the question on
overall size, I
and
get it.
And Drexler and Luka. Drexler's an inch taller.
As I say,
wow.
so
is Drexler 6'7"?
6'7".
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's odd that it says that, but here's the thing that, to your point about the point guard, Isaiah's going to bring the grit and the toughness. Yeah. I don't think Curry's going to bring that from a defensive standpoint.
Right.
He's going to have to shake a guy like
and
Isaiah.
I'll agree with that.
That's true enough.
So that would be difficult from an offensive perspective for Curry.
Yes.
Now let's be honest. I'm fairly certain that Drexler's going to have his way with Luka. Luka plays defense like an 8-year-old, and then he cries like an 8-year-old. But I was looking more from an offensive perspective, not a defensive perspective.
He'll make up for it on the offensive end. So
yeah, I mean that's why I can always turn around and let's see, who was your other guy? Bird. I could put Bird and I could put Luka on Bird.
Yeah.
That would be the better matchup.
And put
Pippen and Drexler.
Pippen on Drexler.
Luka. That's your matchup.
That's what Chris would do.
That's what you would do.
Not what Donnie would do.
Donnie would
No, I bet he would,
I
actually.
bet Donnie would do that.
Well, I'm saying Donnie's going to do what Don's going to do. The
we said
Don
wrong
is the
thing.
Don. And
Donnie's not going to do anything.
Donnie's going to listen to
Don
this
will
and
do
not
it.
be involved. Don would probably do that.
I keep calling him Donnie, but
Nelly.
It's Nelly.
Oh, there we go.
But what's funny is I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube about Bird, and because I'm a Bird fan. But the one that I think is the funniest is when they're having a discussion. They're mapping out the last few moments of a game, and Casey Jones is trying to tell him how it's going to work, and Bird just says, Case, just stop doing
Forget
that.
all that.
Just
Just
give me the
forget all
ball."
that. Give me the ball. Get out. Everybody get out of the way. And he says, Bird, you shut up. I'm the coach. Now, you're going to throw the ball into him. You're going to give it to Bird. Everybody get out of the way. And so that's really what your guy's going to, what Brown's going to do. He's going to say, give it to Bird and get out of the way.
Makes sense to me.
So there's a lot of this, you got a front court battle between Kareem, Duncan, Hakeem, and Garnett. We'll try to go over this pretty quick. Kareem skyhook, nearly indefensible. Duncan's elite mid-range shooting and low post. Game will complement well. Nelson will likely emphasize post-up plays and control inside game, take advantage of our superior low post skills. Duncan's ability to make the right reads out of the high post will be pivotal, pulling Garnett and Hakeem out of the paint and opening lanes for Luka and Isaiah. Team 2 is Hakeem's a defensive nightmare with quick hands, elite shot blocking ability. Garnett's athleticism and intensity make him a formidable defensive force. Brown would emphasize defensive switch and double teams to prevent easy looks in the paint. Offensively, Hakeem's footwork, which we talked about, the dream shake, and Garnett's mid-range game would give them scoring options, forcing Duncan and Kareem, not Hakeem. Kareem, boy, it's easy to say. You just screw that one up.
Hakeem Kareem.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fumbling all over words. To work hard on both ends. Now, perimeter play, Pippen and Luka versus Bird, Curry, and Drexler. Boy, I got to play all three of you with my two guys. And that's fine. That's fine. That's why I picked the team. Pippen's perimeter defense will be crucial in containing teams' two shooters, especially Curry and Bird. Nelson will probably use Pippen as perimeter defense on Curry or Bird to limit their three-point effectiveness, which will be a tough one with the two of those guys.
Yeah.
Curry can stretch the floor, and then Bird just does what Bird's going to do, and he's just going to talk trash and tell you where he's going to shoot from. And then he's going to make it.
And then he's going to do it. Yeah.
Which is going to be difficult. Luka's playmaking ability will allow us to run high pick and rolls and create mismatches, while Isaiah's quickness would challenge Drexler. However, defending both Curry and Bird while switching on Drexler's slashing could stretch us defensively. Team 2, Bird and Curry provide spacing, shooting at an elite level. Brown would likely leverage Bird's IQ and Curry's gravity to pull defenders away from the paint, creating opportunities for Drexler to drive. Hakeem and Garnett to post up. Bird's passing would also create plenty of open looks for Curry and Drexler, allowing Team 2 to spread the floor and force my defenders to cover more ground. So, the playmaking and leadership between Isaiah and Luka and Curry and Bird. Luka's creativity, size advantage would be pivotal, allowing him to manipulate defenses and create for others. Isaiah's quickness and ability to attack in isolation would provide a change of pace, add clutch scoring element, and Nelson's flexible approach would allow Luka and Isaiah to operate in a fast-paced, open system where they could exploit mismatches. This is Team 2. Bird's leadership and unselfish play would create flow within Brown's structured system. Curry's off-ball movement, Bird's passing would open numerous scoring opportunities, and Brown's emphasis on disciplined play will help Talmadge's team be efficient and patient. Curry's range would also force us to pick him up well beyond the arc, which is to do nothing but stretch us. So I'm going to skip the coaching styles just because it gets so much, but we'll just go down to the predicted outcome. And dang it, screwed myself again. And looks like in this situation, you're going to take a 7-game series in 4-3 scenario. You'll win it to 4-3. So Curry's shooting, Bird's combination of scoring and playmaking can make the difference in clutch moments, where Brown's defensive schemes would effectively neutralize our inside dominance. So
interesting.
It's what I'd love to do now is take that and swap that out and put you against Jared's team. So y'all chat about what that'll do.
Chat about GPT.
It'll take me a moment to
Well, all these teams
swap
are
all
so
that out.
loaded, and one reason we talked about doing this topic is just because you can't see these guys play together, and you want to put Isaiah Thomas and Luka Doncic in a lineup. That's not possible, but it's fun to think about.
And now there's the technology to do it.
Well-
Not that we have a guaranteed answer, but at least it gives you more.
This gives us more than
Yeah.
what we would have had 20 years ago, 10 years ago even. So
Because even this contradicts itself because they were saying neutralize.
As we already pointed
the
out,
dominant
yeah.
play from you guys, but Akeem and Garnett, that's pretty dominant as well. So I don't think either side would dominate either side.
No,
I know
'cause you've got-
I know the point they were trying to make.
I do too, but you got dominant players in every spot on the floor.
So
You've got all four of these teams have dominant players. So
let's ask the little AI here.
this
what
is
would happen?
Talmadge's team and my team.
Your team. So this is a 7-game series pit two highly competitive teams with distinct playing styles and strengths against each other, creating an incredible, thrilling matchup. On one side, the Red Auerbach, a pioneer of team basketball and hard-nosed defense, would leave a team filled with legendary all-around players who thrive on transition, scoring, and physical play. On the other hand, Larry Brown, a defensive mastermind known for emphasizing structure and discipline, would take charge of a team loaded with shooting, defensive versatility, and ball movement. So let's not get bogged down in everything we just read up just a minute ago, because that's going to be another 30-minute drudgery. But
Drudgery.
yeah, drudgery.
Not just 30 minutes, but 30 minutes of drudgery.
So let's just get on to what we really want to know. So predict the outcome. The outcome actually has Team 1 winning in a 4 to win.
Who's team 1? Who's team 2?
Your Team 1.
Your Team 1.
I'm Team 1.
Your Team 1. And it's in a hard-fought 7-game series. Team 1 would likely win 4-3, while Team 2's shooting and disciplined defense. Why did they put 2 words that got D's in them? And you're just like
Distinct disciplined defensive determination.
Exactly. Shut up. Disciplined defense would give them advantage in the half court. Team 1's physical dominance, rebounding edge, and versatility might prove too much over a 7-game series. So I like that we get to see something.
Yeah.
But the closest, and I think, and I don't know if this was on camera 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks or a month ago when we did it with Jacob, but he mentioned we could do this in 2K. We just had to draft the team draft.
That might have been
just trade
off
them in and out.
camera,
It might
but
be
yeah,
off
Jacob
camera.
did mention that.
And it's something that I would like to go ahead and try to purchase 2K on my Xbox and try to do this. And just to sit back and go, yep, watch them. Yeah, look, yep, Wilt just blocked Shaq. Oh, Shaq just dunked on Jabbar. Ooh, that was bad.
Yeah.
Just
any of it, just why not?
something to watch. It'd be fun to do, but I'm not going to run me against you. I know I'm already going to lose. So
I don't know that.
I do. I've run the scenario
if you've
way
run the
too.
scenario.
I've run the scenario way too many times, and I could never come up that I actually beat you or Jacob.
Well,
I had no
to be
idea what
fair,
Talmadge
we
was
did
gonna
pick
do.
first, so we all had players that
My team
weren't
wouldn't
available.
change that much, though. I gotta say,
Really?
I
You
pretty
wouldn't
much, I mean, I'd have to look at it and see. I'm sure something would have changed.
Yeah.
But not
we know your
much.
center wouldn't have.
But
so.
Right.
and I think what we discussed prior to this, when you were in here doing your thing, we should have actually not done this by position. We should have done this wide open, where you're drafting a center through a point guard, and it's wide open. You just draft whatever position at that time. So in other words, it's not who'd you take at center? Well, I'm taking this guy at center. You're taking this guy at center. It's a wide open draft like you normally would in, say, in football or any other thing.
So you
where
can draft a center. I
you
can
can
then
draft point guard. Right. See what I'm saying?
I do, but how would that have
Because-
changed the outcome?
Because you didn't take Shaq because Shaq was already taken. All right. So we were
Okay.
going by center. You may have gone point guard. I may have taken Shaq.
Because you're taking the best player of all positions
Right.
first. So that might have opened up a position for him to take somebody you
Just
would have
like
taken.
Jacob took I don't remember who he took.
Like if you would have taken
You
Jordan
took
first,
LeBron, he took Durant, right?
Yeah.
But if you can draft at any of those 5 positions,
Right.
it's just like a regular draft, right? You're picking whatever player you want to take that position.
Yeah.
The difference here is we were slotted in saying you got to take a center. Okay,
Yeah.
what's your center?
I don't know that would maybe, but I don't know that it would have changed
My point.
the outcome.
well, like if let's say you thought Jordan was the best player of all time,
Yeah.
you might have taken Jordan first.
Right.
If I would have gone second, I know Akeem's not the second best player of all time, but again, Akeem's my favorite player, so I might have taken Akeem. When it rolls back around to you, that still leaves players open that would have already been taken had we gone position by position.
Let me ask you this:
Okay,
would
to a
you
point,
would have
maybe.
you have taken Wilt if Shaq was available?
Oh yeah, Wilt was my number 1 center no matter what.
I would have taken Shaq. I had to take Jabbar. Not that
Yeah.
that's a
Bad thing.
a bad thing.
Right.
I'm
We
just
all
saying
got great
that's
lineups,
who
but-
I like Shaq. I would have
Yeah.
taken Shaq. Well, this is an LSU guy. There's always something there with LSU. Anyways.
Hello, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
And I guess I see that point, but I guess
I mean, it may not ever change anything.
it may not, because I'm thinking like, let's say
But
you
you
and
can
I were
have
drafting.
anybody you want, and you're not. Well, you drafted first, and I was 2 down, and I didn't get Shaq. If you took Shaq, that's fine. But I could have taken Jordan.
Or what if I don't value a 2-guard as much? If the 2-guard was taken second in our scenario, I'm forced to take a 2-guard second. I might take a 2-guard last. That's going to change who's available.
That would.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, but the way we
It may
did
not.
it,
It may not change the results and what ends up happening.
Yeah.
I was just saying.
It would just change up the way we did it.
way
Yeah.
we did it. And I thought maybe that might be a little more wide open. So to
Could have
speak.
been, yeah.
We'll never know because
Because
we've already done it. We've
did
already
it
done
this
it this way.
So yeah,
So, but I thought, well,
Yeah.
maybe we could have done it a little differently.
that could have been more.
Could it have
interesting.
changed
I don't know
something?
that
I
it
don't
would
know.
have changed my.
It may not have changed. You
yeah.
just don't know. So it's just like if you had the number 1 draft in the NFL draft, you're gonna take who?
This past year,
Yeah.
depending on the position I needed the most. But if
Well, your number 1 draft pick, the number 1 pick. You have the number 1
number
pick.
1 overall
Who are
pick.
you taking? We already know who you're taking.
Do we need to say Jaden Daniels? Or
No,
do we
you were
just
not
know?
taking Jaden Daniels number 1.
What are you talking? What's the question? I'm confused now.
Your number 1 pick is going to be CMC.
Now
Well,
you're
you
talking
mean
fantasy.
fantasy,
So
okay.
you.
That's my point.
Okay.
This
I
is all
thought you
fantasy.
meant
This is all
If
fantasy.
it was the actual NFL draft of the rookies.
No,
this
no, no,
year,
no. I'm talking
my
fantasy.
answer
That's
is
what I thought
Jaden
too.
Daniels.
Well, no. I'm talking fantasy. Just
Okay.
like this is all fantasy.
Well, then Christian. Yeah. Okay.
Christian
now I
McCaffrey.
understand.
You're
So,
going to
yes,
take
it
Christian
would've been Christian McCaffrey.
Right. Well, I know I'm not getting Chris McCaffrey, and I'm number 2. So who am I going to stuck with? Who am I going to go with? Well,
Right.
I'm going to go with this guy.
Whoever's
So,
next best. Yeah.
But I can go with a
Or whoever
receiver,
you
or running
want
back,
that's
or
next best, yeah.
if I'm dumb, I'll go with a defense. I'm not dumb.
I'm gonna take a kicker in the first round next year. Miami Fairbairn.
That was just why I was thinking. If
Yeah.
they had it more wide open, it hadn't been restrictive to saying you have to take a center here.
So
Okay,
guys, next
now-
year we'll do it that way.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
try
do it that
this
way
up
next year.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope y'all had fun, even if you got lost in some of that. Go back and watch it 6 or 2 more times. That wasn't wide enough. 26 or 3 more times.
Yeah, something like that.
And then see what you think about our lineups. Anyway, these are part of the discussions that just make being a fan fun.
Yeah,
we'll
just-
never see these actual games. We don't control this stuff. But darn it, it's fun to think about.
Oh.
So hope y'all enjoyed this as much as we did. If you did like it, you can show that by clicking the like button. If you've not already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel.
Absolutely.
It really will help me enable me to bring you more of this type of content. So for Chris Black, for Talmadge Roger Vernado III, I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. I hope y'all have a great week. And hope I see you again real soon. Yeah, Johnson.